I'm Angela Nicholson, and in this tutorial I'm going to show you some of the ways that you can use smart objects to make non-destructive adjustments. One of the great things about smart objects is that you can use them to apply transformations or resizing of an image without actually affecting the original image. So I'm going to place a smart object which duplicates this image into this picture. Now, there are several ways of doing this, but I'm going to use File and then Place, and then I have to track down the original image, which is that one. As you can see, there are now grab handles around the image which I can use to resize it or apply a transformation. So if I just grab this image in, this handle in, sorry, I can resize the image. I'm just doing a quick random resize. Now I can apply that transformation just by checking that tick box. Now let's take a look at the layers panel so we can see what's going on. As you can see, the smart object has its own layer here. Now if I want to adjust that transformation, all I have to do is go to Edit and Transform, and I can resize or skew the image again just by clicking that and then dragging those handles back out. And when I've finished, I just hit the tick button. Now let's see what happens if I make a transformation of the original image and don't use a smart object. So the first thing I'm going to do is duplicate the background just by dragging it down to this icon to create another one. I'm going to turn off the smart object layer so we can't see that. And now I'm going to apply a transformation to this upper layer. So all I have to do is select all and then go to Edit, Transform and Scale. And now I just pull the handle in, move it across so we can see it, and shrink that right down. And I'm going to accept that transformation. Now let's see what happens if I decide to resize this again and make it bigger. I go to Edit, Transform, Scale. You'll notice straight away that the image is looking pixelated, and that's because Photoshop has lost all of the data. Now if I accept that transformation, you'll see that the image does get a little better, but it looks a little bit soft. Let's take a look at the smart object version. As you can see, it's quite a bit sharper, and that's because Photoshop has been able to use the original data. That's the really smart thing about smart objects. They always use the original data. Now I'm going to take a look at how you can apply smart filters non-destructively to your images. So the first thing I'm going to do is open another image as a smart object. So I go to File and Open as Smart Object. I'm going to check that one. Now I can apply one of the filters. If I hadn't already opened this as a smart object, I could actually use this Convert for Smart Filters option here to do the same thing. Now I'm going to choose a nice obvious filter, which is this one here, so we can really see what's going on. As you can see, that's going to give the image a very granular effect. So I'll just apply that. Now the beauty of this approach is I have much more control over how I apply the filter. If I want to edit the filter settings, for example, I just need to double click on this icon and I can change the opacity, I can change the blend mode, and I can zoom in and out to see how it's affecting the image if I want. I just go back to normal and to 100%. Another thing I can do is apply a mask, and all I need to do that is to double click on this box here, and now you can see I've got the mask properties box open. So I just need to select a brush and I can start painting on the image. Let's check that one, that's a reasonable size. As you can see now, I'm painting out where I don't want the filter. If I made a mistake, I can just switch between the foreground and background colours and paint it back in. And obviously I've got all the usual controls, so I can adjust the opacity of the paintbrush and I can adjust the flow if I want. And of course, if you prefer it, you can press Invert and then paint in where you want the filter. Rather than painting it out, you're painting it in. And of course, if I decide I don't like the effect of the filter, I can just get rid of it altogether. All I need to do is click on the smart filter and drag that down to the bin, and there it is gone. This icon here in the corner just means that this is still a smart object. Let's try another filter. Let's look at unsharp mask. So I'm just going to put some random figures in just so you can see what's happening. I'm going to boost it so it's really obvious what's happening. There we go. You can see it's applied an unsharp mask filter. I think you'll agree that that unsharp mask is too strong, so I'm going to change it just by double clicking on the unsharp mask icon there, and now I've got all the controls that I had before, and I can take that back down. That's better. I click OK. Now if I go to here, I've got the controls again that I had before with the blending mode and the opacity. If I want, I can apply a second filter. So this time I'm going to apply a distortion. Let's just scroll out a little bit so we can see how it's affecting the image, and click OK. And now you can see there are two options under the smart filters. If I double click this one, I get the options to adjust unsharp mask. And if I double click the one above, I can adjust the ripple filter again. It's worth noting that some filters aren't available to use in this way, so you can't use lens correction, liquify, oil paint or vanishing point, for example. But there's still plenty of options, and it's a really useful method of applying a filter which is normally destructive and making it non-destructive. You're not just limited to working with JPEG files with smart objects, you can also open RAW files. It's just a question of opening the file as a smart object. And then finding the file that you want. That's the one, and click open. Now as you can see, I've got the adjustment features that you'd normally associate with Camera Raw. So say I just adjust the exposure and then I click open, the file is open, but you can see from this icon it's a smart object. Now if I want to adjust my settings again, all I have to do is double click on the icon, and as you can see Camera Raw is opened again, and I can make all the adjustments. So if I wanted to, I could actually turn this into a black and white image using Camera Raw's adjustments. I'm going to turn that off again. So as you can see, smart objects are extremely versatile.